Hi everyone, I'm Shahem. In this video, I will show how to install the Jekyll static site generator that is needed by the FHIR publisher. And Jekyll needs Ruby because it's written with the Ruby language. And again, I assume you are able and allowed to do this stuff on your computer. If it's a work computer, you might need to worry about that. Okay, so like I said, Jekyll is a static site generator that the FHIR publisher uses. And the instructions for doing both of these are from the Jekyll website that you see at the link here. So this is the Jekyll website. If you go to the homepage, you'll get more information about what Jekyll is. For now, we're just going to go to the documentation, installation, and follow the Windows instructions. If you have another operating system, follow that. So read through this and follow the steps. And I usually work in a Linux virtual machine, so this is the first time I'm trying this. I'm setting it up in Windows because most of my videos I'm going to try to do them on a Windows machine because more users could follow those instructions. So on Windows, it looks like we need to go and get the Ruby installer. And there's something called Ruby plus DevKit that we have to download. So I'm going to follow that link and go there and see what we find there. So it looks like we want this with the DevKit. And you could use the latest version that you have when you see this. Make sure the version is compatible with whatever Jekyll is recommending here. If the language is different here when you're watching this video is recorded at the end of October 2020. So I'm going to download this, and it's an executable file. I'll start running it, and I will pause this video and unpause it when there's something important to show. Okay, so I downloaded the file. In my case, it was the x64 version, which is probably what you need to. If you have a 32-bit machine, there's a version for that. It's the x86. And I double-clicked on that file, and I got this window. I'm going to try to run through this and look at the instructions here. It looks like there is a step we need to do at the end within this installer. So I'm going to accept the license. And okay, so it's installing it in not a typical Windows location. It's not under programming files. It's installing it at the root of your C drive in its own folder, which is fine. Just go ahead and do that. Go ahead and add the Ruby executable to your path, unless you know you shouldn't do that on your machine. This will make it easier. You don't have to configure the path. I showed this path thing with the Java installation, so I'm not going to show it again. And it makes sense to associate the .rb and .rbw files. Those are usually Ruby files, which means if you double click on one of those, it will run. You might not want that on your machine. If you have any commands in that file that deletes stuff and that file happens to be in the wrong spot, wrong time, you might not want things running automatically. So it's up to you if you want to turn that on or not. And keep that excuse me, keep that encoding as suggested here. Okay, so it's up to you if you want to install documentation or not. It's about 50 megabytes. I am going to choose not to install them. You could get the documentation online, and we're not doing Ruby development here, so you really don't need this on your machine. And I'm going to keep this other tool chain here because I think this is needed for the second step or other sort of compiling that might be needed later by other tools. Jekyll might need this, so just leave it on. I'm not sure if it's needed or not, but to be safe. It's kind of a big size, but it is what it is. Okay, I'll go ahead and pause and come back in a little bit. Okay, so that ran for about 3 minutes maybe or so. And before you finish the installation wizard, there is this entry with a small checkbox, and it is what step 2 here is recommending. So leave that check and say finish, and you get this from the Ruby installer. It's asking which components shall be installed. If unsure, press enter. So it's installing, it looks like 1 through 3, or just 1 and 3. I think it's 1 through 3. Just hit enter as it's suggesting. And I'm hitting enter. I don't see much happening here. So curious why that is the case. Let's see, let's try again. Okay, I think I hit shift and enter or control enter. For some reason, my keystroke, the enter, was not going through to the terminal. Maybe it's a side effect of the video recording setup I have here. So I hit enter, nothing happened. I hit control and then enter, and I didn't see anything happening. And then I held the shift key down and enter, and then started seeing what you're seeing here. So it looks like it's working. I'm going to go ahead and pause and come back if there's something interesting to look at. Okay, so this window looks like it hung for a while on an entry that was saying updating 13 keys or something like that. It went away. So because it was hanging for a while, I just hit enter once in this window, and then this output started, and you see an entry here that seems to be properly installed. And then it seems to be asking the same question again, what to install, but if you notice, between the brackets is empty, which to me suggests that everything was installed correctly. And again, it says if unsure, press enter, and I'm assuming this means don't install anything and it will exit. So let's see if the enter key is going to work this time. Okay, so that didn't work again. I'm going to hold shift down and hit enter, and that seemed to have done it. I don't know if you'll have the same problem. It could be just on my machine. Okay, so I'm going to follow step 3, open a new command prompt window. So you go to your start menu and type CMD for command, and you'll see command prompt application will show up as a suggested application. I showed this in the Java installation. So you get this, and it's asking to run this command to install Jekyll and another related tool. But before that, at this point, we should have Ruby installed on our machine. And Ruby has a command called Ruby. And if you remember from the Java installation that I showed earlier, you could use the command where and say Ruby. And you could see it found it in the directory that I showed earlier. It was being installed in C /Ruby 27. That's version 2.7. 64 is the machine type. Okay, so Ruby looks like it's installed. So could go ahead and run this other command that it's asking us to run, gem install Jekyll. Gem is a tool. So if I do, it's a Ruby tool. If I say where is gem, you'll see gem is right next to where Ruby is. So we're going to go ahead and do this. Gem install Jekyll. Just type it as you see it. Okay, and hit enter. And it's going to go ahead and install all the necessary packages, and there's some compilation that's probably going to happen. This building native extensions, that might take a while. I'm going to go ahead and pause and come back when this is done. Okay, so After a couple of minutes, you should see something similar to this, saying 27 gems installed, done installing documentation, done installing all these different things. Hopefully you didn't see any errors in here. If there are any errors, hopefully they will be in a different color. Just kind of read, keep an eye through this. You should see the fetching and then the installing steps being successfully installed. And then there is documentation installation, the RI stuff. Didn't really need that, but it's included. You could prevent it, but don't bother. Okay, so now Jekyll itself is a tool, and I'm assuming we could see where it is. And yep, Jekyll is installed right along next to Ruby, so it looks like all is good. So with Java installed and Ruby and Jekyll installed, you have all the tools that you need to run the FHIR publisher, which I'll show in another video. You want to have an editor of your choice to edit files as we work, and you'll see I use Visual Studio Code. You could Google that and install it. It's a free development editor, and I'll show it when I have it. But that's another tool that you could use, or any other text editor will do. But something that recognizes JSON, and well, I should stop talking about that until the next video. Okay, see you in the next video. Please like and subscribe if you find these videos useful. It will encourage me to keep going, and leave a comment. Let me know what you're interested in next, and if there's anything I could do to improve the content or the quality of these videos. Also, at some point, check out some of these resources listed here. They're still work in progress, and I will have a follow-up video to describe them. Keep in mind that this content is for educational purposes. There are no guarantees of accuracy and completeness, and you should use at your own risk. You might be seeing a few YouTube cards on the screen. They are suggested next videos or related playlists.